Atomic Heart is an upcoming FPS action role-playing game that's currently being developed by Mundfish Studios, which is located in Cyprus. Currently, Atomic Heart is scheduled to be released on February 21st of this year. In this video, we'll be exploring and breaking down the current timeline that we know so far within the game. Today, I'll be discussing the major world events leading up to Atomic Heart, along with the location where these events could possibly take place. Please keep in mind that this video is based on the information that we currently have and know, and I'll be sure to create updated videos after Atomic Heart's release. With that being said, sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy the timeline and world of Atomic Heart. We begin our story back in 1936 within the Soviet Union. We first learn about Professor Dmitry Sergeyevich Sechenov. At a facility to be named at a later date, he conducts experiments on a simple idea, creating what he called fluid information carriers. He does this by combining and testing with well-known materials, such as heavy water and silicone. What he discovers next would drastically change the course of history. He discovers polymer, which is a plastic electric storage device, something that was an absolute unknown to the entire scientific world. Later on, in 1939, Sechenov and another professor, Filmonenko, eventually create a compacted cold fusion reactor, all thanks to the properties of the previously mentioned polymer. This proves to provide a future in global robotic prospects, which could complete tasks more efficiently than a standard person. Construction of this reactor took place at the Brain Research Institute, which then led to the construction of their first robot, which happened to be a three-wheeled one to be more specific. As mentioned earlier, the prospect of creating a near-perfect society with the assistance of robots is rapidly approaching. In 1941, after Professor Sechenov's discovery of polymer, his research had a much-needed boost. It gained backing from the government, that being the Soviet Union or the USSR, whichever you prefer. After being given the green light for his research, an elaborate set of research and production sites were built all throughout the Soviet Union. A rather interesting piece of information about these research and production sites is that each one was responsible for conducting their own specific research and development within their own fields. At the same time, the Soviets set up a national project of their own, which included all of the scientists from the research and production sites, codenamed Facility 3826. Those sites, along with Sechenov's discovery and with the backing of the Soviet government, polymer production and research was absolutely thriving. Also during this time in 1944, the Pavlov complex was established. This originally was supposed to be a hospital and care facility for severely injured and mentally unwell veterans who came home after the Great Patriotic War, otherwise known as World War II. This was one of the first sites established under codename Facility 3826 and was used to gather more research on polymer. More specifically, the Pavlov complex was researching how polymer would react to the nervous systems of both animals and humans. This complex was broken down into three specific sectors. The first sector was the medical archives. Their research, goals, and technologies are considered highly classified. What we do know about this sector, however, is that it's fully automated using the previously mentioned robots. The second sector was the surgical workshop. This sector was fully operated by humans. Their current research and goals are also highly classified. However, we learn a bit about the technology being used here. To perform extremely risky and delicate operations and surgeries, a robot named Vova 6 was used to carry these operations out successfully. The third and final sector is the experimental workshop. Everything here is highly classified except for the fact that it's controlled by humans, just like the surgical workshop. Skipping forward to 1948, a tremendous amount of progress has been made by Sechenov and those research and production sites that I mentioned earlier. By this point, which was only a 7-year gap, robotics within the USSR were extremely prevalent. With as much of a technological advancement the USSR and its scientists have made within this field, they wanted more. So, Professor Sechenov decided to try and up the overall effectiveness and control of their robots. This led to the successful launch of a system called the Collective 1.0 system. This essentially led the scientists and Sechenov creating a system to sync robotic assistants into that collective and to be able to better control them. In doing this, it proved to be an absolute success, which led to these robotic assistants being able to do things like creating cities, helping after natural disasters, and much, much more. The entirety of Europe decided to welcome this with open arms. The prospect of having robotic assistants to replace the human workforce and to provide humanitarian assistance to Europe seemed to have more positive rather than negative results. During 1950, Sechenov made yet another incredible discovery involving his polymer. He found out that polymer can adapt to be placed within the human body, something he called polymer assimilative adaptation. In doing so, he realized that scientists would be able to do with humans what they're already doing with robots. With this new discovery, Professor Sechenov theorizes, and is eventually proven right, that a user will be able to plug themselves into and be able to control robotics actions via an interface. This would allow for more information to be observed and collected, increased knowledge from various studies, to control the already existing robots, and much, much more. Now, with the robots being under the Collective 1.0 system, they're also able to theoretically connect humans to that same exact system. From 1951 through 1954, extensive research and testing was conducted to make this theory and project a successful reality. It only took 4 years of very hard work for Sechenov, his scientists, and the Soviet Union to be successful. In 1954, Sechenov was successful in creating that interface that plugged both human and machine into the Collective 1.0 system. The codename for this interface was named Thought. Finally, after years of scientific research and study, things were falling into place. There was a promise that citizens using the Thought interface will lead into a pleasant and incredible tomorrow, along with a bright and prosperous future. Well, it turns out that it might not be as bright and promising as initially thought. Finally, in 1955, everything at this point in time seemed to be working perfectly. These thought interfaces were then mass-produced and were being distributed to not only the citizens of the USSR, but also citizens from multiple countries around the world. With 7 years passing between the initial Collective 1.0 system being established and successful, an update was on the horizon, being called the Collective 2.0 Neuro Network, which was then developed as an update was expected to launch on June 13th of 1955. With the successful launch of Thought, the future looked like humans and robots would properly share life together through the Collective 2.0 and be able to control the power of thought. The only unfortunate thing is, we'll have to wait for more information to come out on February 21st and how all of this plays out within Atomic Heart. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you're excited for Atomic Heart's release. I know I am. This is all of the information, as I've mentioned, that we've received from the developers so far, so I'll make sure to work on an updated and expanded timeline once I'm able to play the game and gather more information. Tune into the next Atomic Heart video to learn more about our main character, Agent P3. If you'd like to check out my previous Atomic Heart video, click the video on the left side of the screen now. If you'd like to see a random video, click the one on the right. I'd appreciate that. Also, if you're new here and enjoyed the video and want to see more content, would you mind subscribing? That would be very much appreciated, and we are on the road to 50,000 subscribers, so thank you all for that. And if you're feeling generous, a like would be very much appreciated. And if you want to stay up to date with content, and if you do subscribe, be sure to turn on all post notifications by hitting the bell. That way, every time I post a video or start up a live stream, YouTube will hopefully notify you. I know it can be fickle sometimes, but that's the best way to do so, and it's also very much appreciated. Also, if you want to contact me outside of YouTube, my social medias are the best ways to do so, the links to which will be provided in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching, and with that being said, I'll speak to you all very soon.